start.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, I don't know that Dr. Reddy's coming for any particular reason.
I'm not sure. I just heard that he was going to be here.
And
Well,
we-
whenever he shows up, we stop
Right.
whatever we're doing.
We used to put like report from the city manager on the agenda, but then they didn't come very often. So now we've stirred up some more trouble, so they come. Okay. All right. Are we ready? Okay, it says 4 o'clock on that clock. Okay. Very good. I would like to call the meeting to order. This is the Thursday, June 13th, 2019, regular meeting of the Public Arts Commission of the City of Palm Springs. And I would like to ask Daniel to call the roll, please.
Okay. Commissioner Brenner.
Here.
Commissioner Gladstone will be late. Commissioner Merrigan.
Here.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Here.
Chair Sheffer.
Here.
And Vice Chair Yanni is excused.
Thank
We
you.
have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. May I please have a motion to accept the agenda? You're going to
Madam
have
Chair,
to
I
play
make-
the role of Tom Yanni today.
Playing the role of time. I make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
And did I hear a second from Commissioner Murray?
Second.
Thank you. Any objections? Good.
Okay.
Okay. We now come to the time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. I know we have some guests who are going to speak later in the meeting. Is there anyone who would like to just make a general public comment? And if not, we will be sure and call on you later. May I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from the meeting held on May 9th, 2019?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting held Thursday, May 9th, 2019.
Second that motion.
Does anyone have any corrections, additions? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I would like to pat ourselves on the back for being caught up on minutes. That's actually last month's minutes. Very good. Now, the first order of business is the election of a chair and a vice chair. And I would like to ask Mr. DeGarmo to hold the election for chair. And I would like to welcome Dr. Reddy to the meeting.
Chair, I believe I was designated to do the election for the
Oh.
chair and the vice chair, so I'd be happy to do that for all of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're
Anthony
we're
Mejia,
very
city clerk.
honored. Yes, okay.
I will open up nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Chair Shepherd as chair.
Okay.
And I will second the nomination.
Ayes?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Chair
We
Schaefer,
should
you are
also-
reappointed.
Thank you. We should confirm that, that we do have a quorum.
You
even
do
though
have a
we-
quorum present.
And as far as vice chair, the current vice chair, Tom Yanni, is out of the country. And I tried to get in touch with him to see if he wanted to be renominated, and didn't hear from him. It's, time difference and a lot of other things. But I think we can assume that since he didn't ever formally tell us that he would like to be nominated, that he is not running. So shall I do the vice chair?
You may.
Okay. May I have nominations then for the position of vice chair?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Merrigan for Vice Chair.
And I'd second that nomination.
Very good. May we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Congratulations. Now you can sit here and do all the motions. No, that's fine. Okay. We have two other action items. One of them has been developed by Commissioner Gladstone, who has told us that she's going to be a little bit late. So I'd like to hold that one until she's here and can explain it. But the second item, action item, is to consider a $15,000 pilot project for artist-designed street benches in downtown Palm Springs, which will be presented by Commissioner Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair Sheffer. Yes, so we have sort of the green light from the city to do a test pilot project for 12 benches in the downtown corridor. Excuse me, to show them that we can do a very artful, creative redo of the benches rather than spending a lot of money on replacing the benches. So this past week, I met with local artist Tyson Knight, who's a very talented Palm Desert-based artist, part of the Desert Art Center. His show is coming up in Bridgehampton, New York this fall, also in Miami. Very good graffiti-style, pop art-style artist. He's also a film director. He had the documentary in the recent film fest called The Art of the Shuffle. No, The Art of the Shuffle, sorry. Documenting homeless people who are also creative and artistic, doing art from the homeless aspect. So anyways, we find the slides for the benches. There are two different styles of benches. This one that's currently on the screen is just a short backless arm bench. And then there's a variation that has a back to it. So Tyson's work is very bold, colorful pop art, mixing in artistic icons like Keith Haring, Andy Warhol. Here's Miles Davis on the side of the bench. So the concept would be that all of the benches will be painted with this bold graphic style. Color blocks, so this one with the back, the image would be on the side. The rest of the bench would have the color graphic on covering the whole thing. And as you go along the side of the bench, if it ends with the red, yellow at the up top part of the screen, or the right-hand side of the screen, the next bench would start with that same color field and then work its way through another color variation, and then the following bench would continue on with that color. So being that the small backless benches are much more smaller in scale, we think that they would just do the color graphic with perhaps a very small face, sort of iconic, like pop art face with large sunglasses, that sort of thing, on the seating portion of this bench. Or we could continue as he did with this, the graphic of the palm trees. So for example, again, with this one, the right-hand side of it is green and purple. So the next bench that you would encounter as you're walking along the street would start with green and purple and then work its way through another color spectrum.
That's great.
So that's the general concept. Chair Sheffer shared this with Jeffrey at PS.
Destination
Destin
PSP
PS,
and Main
yes.
Street. the
And Main
organization.
Street, the Merchants Association, they're thrilled with the concept. So my recommendation is that we do a contract with Tyson for the 12 benches. Budget would be $15,000.
So do you have a proposal from him?
Not a solid one. We've met with him and we've discussed the process and the amount of money for the 12 benches. Tyson recently did utility boxes for Desert Hot Springs. So he's very accustomed to the process of prepping something for painting in an outdoor environment. So he understands.
So did he give a cost per bench?
He will break that down. He's working on that now because wanted to go sort of into the concept part, see if the direction from the commission agrees with my direction for the project, and then he will break down the cost factor, and we would present that budget for a contract.
So this would be approving the total amount, subject to a contract.
Yes.
To be developed. And just to back up a little bit, I met with the downtown, the city council downtown subcommittee on the whole issue of benches, and they agreed that if we did a pilot project, it would make it easier for them to see if that's something they wanted to continue further downtown. And so we agreed as the Arts Commission to pay for it and undertake it. But we do have approval from the council subcommittee. Does anyone else have any questions about this? Yeah.
Madam Chair, two things. How long would it take? What kind of deadline are we looking at, for him to complete the project?
We
Number
would-
two, is there any way he can come in and talk to the commission about his vision before we make any decision?
Okay, well, addressing the time factor, the tricky thing is that being that we generally won't have a quorum in July. I mean, if we do have one and we have a meeting, Tyson would certainly be agreeable to come and talk about the concept. It's something that we worked out in the meeting, and we wanted to sort of go with the time frame of getting the contract done within the next 30 days, and he would do the project over the summertime. So that
I
by-
think, however, that you might be able to set up a meeting with him downtown, looking at the benches, just for commissioners who'd like to see a little bit more about what the designs are going to be. I think this particular item is to approve the funding for this project, but I'm sure there's some ways for commissioners to get more involved as the design develops.
Yeah, because part of the design, if you look at the one that had the face on the side, the one with the back, is you can certainly have, as we develop the whole concept for it, make a determination of whose these images will be. And Chair Sheffer said, being that we're doing the sign from artist whose name I remember, Jeffrey
Scott Froschauer.
Scott Froschauer, that gives indication to the Louvre in Paris and iconic figures like Keith Haring, Andy Warhol. This one has Miles Davis, but we could determine, given the number of benches within the 12 pilot projects that have the side that is suitable for the image, we as the commission can determine who those images should be. But throughout the Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, the Mona Lisa, sort of whatever.
But we could do that as, with a subcommittee, the mural subcommittee, and I think Commissioner Murray, you're on it with,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard.
What I'm listening for, is does it speak Palm Springs, that language? Is it us? I mean, Mona Lisa, I mean, I have much respect for that, but no disrespect. But I think in the past, we've had the artists come
right,
and give their vision, which is helpful, and I have to agree with Dr. Redding. I just think it's best to have a proposal and all the information in front of us to vote on $15,000.
Again, I think if we approve the overall amount, but we assign it to the subcommittee to make the recommendations about the actual images. And we've also offered to include the people from Main Street, the merchants whose stores these benches are in front of. But I think reviewing the actual images as a whole commission really is, it's not the right, I think it's not the right forum for it. I think if we want to do this project, we ask the subcommittee to see it through.
Okay.
So, does anyone else have?
So is that our policy, to do it that way?
We have done that with
Okay.
other murals.
Excellent,
For example, the one at St. Paul's, we approved
Yes.
it, but you were the liaison and helped them
Right,
with.
and he came to talk to us at the
He
museum.
did, he
Yes.
did.
Okay. I just want to make sure the standards are the same for everybody. That's all. as it relates to artists.
Right.
How many of these benches are there?
We've been given permission to do 12. at
Yeah,
the
out
moment to
of,
start.
there's probably 80 or so,
I thought there were like.
or 100 or 100, 80, somewhere between 80 and 100, somewhere in there. It's hard to imagine, but
And they're all over the city too, but as far as Palm Canyon, there's, yeah, at least 80.
So if people liked this, would we then hire another artist to do like the next 12? And then, so it would be this,
well, to update you, so the Councilmember Roberts is the liaison to council for the downtown, the benches and the waste containers. There's two parts. The waste containers is going through a separate process, but on the benches, he had a couple suggestions and actually had several put down as a pilot. The council and other stakeholder input weren't necessarily certain those were the right ones, obviously design, style, weather, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, then we also had a discussion with Arts Chair and the Main Street. We invited the Arts Chair, the Main Street Chairwoman, Ms. Meredith Joy.
Right, and Jeffrey
Joy
Bernstein,
and
right.
Jeffrey Bernstein, just to sort of talk about it generally, you had the idea of doing this as a pilot. So the consensus was, general consensus was, okay, we haven't decided on what new benches to do. If we ever do them at all, maybe we just leave them as they are. These are not, these need painted, they need something. So if we keep these, we have to repaint all of them, and we do that periodically in that same terracotta. It's likely council will at some point agree on a new bench, but that's a lot of them. And so even if they do, and you have these, you could have a mixed group of benches. In the alternative, you do these 12, and the stakeholders and council may like them so much, they'll say, hey, let's just stay with this concept. So it's sort of this is sort of a fluid kind of process. This would be almost like a pilot. But I do think, as I think through this, if you agree, not to exceed 15, we would get the actual proposal, and then we'd see what those are per bench. I'm probably going to have to take it to city council for them to approve it, and then we'd give them the go-ahead to go do these 12.
And we recently just had a call for artists, my last point.
Yes.
And we had our 30th anniversary, which was very nice. I think it would be fair to include those artists in this.
Exactly. Part of.
Was he part of our call for artists, this artist?
He was part of our graffiti.
No,
part.
he wasn't?
No.
No, Tyson was not part of the 30 by 30. Tyson currently shows work at the Desert Art Center.
The idea, one of the things I want to talk about later in the meeting is how to keep that call for artists open, so that if we say we're going to do benches, we can get proposals specifically for benches. But we felt we needed to try it with one set of benches so that all the stakeholders could see if that's what they wanted.
I think we should use our call to artists.
Keep it going. Yeah, that's on the
fair.
list of things to do. All right, well,
Nothing against the artists.
I think it's a really cool idea to do a test with 12. I think it would be really cool to do them all in a series, and not throw these benches away because they're like really heavy, and obviously they've lasted forever, and it's a waste just to dump them for wood that's going to warp and lose its varnish, like the ones that are out there. I'm amazed that they've been repainted with the same color scheme.
Yeah, over and over and
yeah,
over again.
Yeah.
they're
So,
not as thin, but that's just layers of paint.
Right.
Right.
Well, and actually, if I can interject, yeah, if we was doing this as a test project, showing the city how great the benches look, painted by an artist, and then continually doing all of the rest of them, call for artists, whether it's every 6 months, a group of benches get changed out so we can cycle through a large pool of artists in our community. But we've got to start somewhere. This is a test project to
Right.
see, conceptually, if everyone gets on the same page
And
and, yes,
it-
this works and let's do this rather than spending
Right.
$500,000 on new benches.
I
And
like
this-
the idea of them referencing one another.
Right.
I think that's a really cool.
If you walk down the street, you notice that you see the end of each bench up ahead. And the downtown merchants would love something visual that would draw people to keep going up the street. And this $15,000 figure has in it some possible expenses as we find out if we have to strip the benches first or if they can just be painted over. The first one's going to be somewhat of a challenge because they have been repainted so many times. So we've built in a little bit extra. I don't think if we did another 12 that it would cost this much money because we would know what specifications to give the artist. So we have an artist experienced at doing outdoor work like this on street fixtures, and hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have something to show the council and the merchants.
So there's a chance it might not work, or some of the benches might not work, maybe.
It's possible. I mean, it's possible
Right.
that they have so many layers of paint that, it's,
What specifically to be might not be able to
Oh,
work?
like maybe you'll find that the bench after that, like maybe that one won't pass the test or something. I mean, I kind of think, they're so simple.
Yeah. No, well, Tyson went down and looked at the benches because he does, we said he does have experience doing the utility boxes in DHS. Basic cleaning, rough sanding, prep, primer coat, and paint.
okay. Would you like to make a motion to,
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to create a pilot project for downtown Palm Springs benches not to exceed $15,000, and a proposal to be prepared by the artist with final approval going through the mural subcommittee.
Point of, I think we should look at more than one artist. I don't know if I'm out of order.
I think the idea of this pilot project was to go with an experienced artist, with the idea that if we continue this, we will definitely open it to more artists. At this point, I think we don't know where to start because we're not sure what it takes to paint these benches.
I
So-
think we should approve the money, but just hold off on the artists.
Well,
Just
the
my
way
thought.
that I did the
You didn't reference it.
I didn't reference it, so I leave that to the subcommittee to come back. If you guys come back and say, hey, we'd like to open this to other artists, I mean, I'm just saying right now, let's authorize $15,000 in our budget to do bench painting and let the mural subcommittee then determine what that is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And,
Okay.
and who is the mural subcommittee?
Commissioner Pritchard and Murray.
And Mara.
And Mara, I think, is also on it. But that's, the burden is on Russell to come up with the proposal and work out the details of the contract, and certainly with input for the rest of the committee. But I think we have to hold one person responsible for getting it done. So, if there are no other comments.
Is there a second to that motion?
One second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Got that. Okay. All right. This is slightly out of order, but I will make just a brief report from the chair. Two things. One, it was brought to our attention by the city that someone had left a work of art attached to our sign that said, "Imagine Art Here." And it says, "To whom it may concern, on my first visit to Palm Springs, I created this found object sculpture. Please find it a good home. If kept outdoors, it must be sprayed to protect from insects, rodents, weather, keep in shade, gifted with thanks for your hospitality, not for sale, may be hung and placed in many different directions with a museum, an art collector, or in a public place. It's a gift to the city of Palm Springs." The Public Works Department got in touch with us and asked if in fact this was a work of art. And this is what happens when you put a sign that says "Imagine Art Here." Commissioner Pritchard has taken it down and says that it is not something that can be kept because it is already infested with bugs and nettles and things. So we have a photograph of it, and we thank this anonymous donor. So I feel like we're an orphanage where someone is leaving us art on the right. So it's nice to know that we have a reputation for being.
You have a picture of it?
I can take a picture of it. I have only the one that
I
was
have the one
provided
that
by
the
the
city
city.
sent, but I
Oh.
don't. I didn't.
But it's-
Okay, at
Bring
some
it.
point, I just have a
It's
curiosity.
sort of a dried flower.
It's a combination of yarn, twigs, and sort of thorny branch things that
Oh, okay,
are
sort of an
painful.
organic, natural arrangement.
Yeah, that's sort of falling apart.
Okay,
I will make
thank
sure
you.
that everyone gets to see a picture. And we would write her a thank you note, but it's anonymous.
Oh, okay.
So-
They would like remember the ladders that were on arenas? We had that piece of art that became an issue.
Yeah, people,
Yes.
it's nice. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to propose for this year that we have just 2 standing subcommittees because it's hard to have sort of overlapping committees of 2 or 3 people for specific things. And so one of them, which has been an ongoing subcommittee, is for sites and installations, which includes the purchase or commissioning of artwork, maintenance of the collection, which is a big issue that we have to address, and liaison with city departments like Public Works and others. And I would like to appoint Commissioner Yanni as chair and Commissioners Gladstone and Pritchard as members of this committee. And the other standing subcommittee would be for programs and partnerships, which would include commission programs, collaboration with the museum and other organizations, the website, and social media. And I would like to appoint Commissioner Merrigan as chair and Commissioners Brennan and Murray as members. And I would like to take a vote from the commission to establish these subcommittees. So, all in favor? I think that.
Do I need to make a motion to accept the subcommittees as outlined by Chairman Sheffer?
Thank you.
Okay,
Is there a second?
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and the rest of the list is, I would like volunteers to act as liaisons to some of these boards and commissions that we're starting to do projects with and have had some conversations, but it would be nice if we could have one person directly responsible for keeping in touch with whatever board it is. So if you would take this list and email Jay and me, by the fall, we'll put together a list of the assignments that people would like. Which brings me to the first of our reports, which has to do with artwork for the Palm Springs Airport, where Commissioner Pritchard is the de facto liaison because he found a piece of art. So, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Sheffer. Daniel, if you can pull up the crushing inertia image.
That's, by the way, the title of the work.
That's the title of the work. And we did actually touch upon this, I believe, at our last meeting, just in general discussion. So this is Linda Maxon and Debbie Gruppe, who are Maxon Gallery and the Backstreet Art Studios. This piece was created sort of politically motivated with the separation of families at the borders by the Donald Trump administration. So it's basically, that's sort of the driving force behind it. We've discussed this piece in its full form is 8.5 feet square by 9 feet high. It's now been reduced to 3 feet in depth by, I think, 6 feet wide. So it can be it can exist in various shapes and sizes. I ideally first thought of it sitting in the center of the rotunda at the airport, but unfortunately the rotunda is not as large as I think it is, so there's not enough room, and there's a big giant support pole right in the center of it. So with the Airport Commission Chair, Allison Johnson, we met with Jones. We met with the artist and Linda Baxton's husband, Greg, who will do the structural work. Because right now it does not have, as shown in the mock-up, the steel framework. So that's why at this point of discussion, once we meet on-site with L. Jones at the airport, we can determine within the airport where the piece can either live in one size, or if we break it down into two equal sizes, there's a possibility that it could be installed in the rotunda, but as you walk through the main doors, one would be on the right and one would be on the left. So it would be sort of like a double welcoming.
Let's back up just a minute, though, and explain that this would be a loan, by the way, number one.
Yes.
Number two, we are trying to figure out, it's like the chicken and the egg, but if we recommend this piece go on display at the airport and the airport commission agrees, then it would go to city council.
Correct.
But in any case, it's just a loan, so there's no funds involved. And this comes on the heels of a request from the airport, couldn't we please get them some more art? And it just happened that this one was available.
Yeah.
And again, back to the idea of keeping the call for artists open, I think that as we have an idea of places that would like art, we can connect it with artists who would like to work in that place. Not sometimes as a commission, not always as a loan. This just happened to be available as a loan. So perhaps Dr. Reddy could tell us who does go first, us or the Airport Commission?
I think it's how we've done this in the past is the Arts Commission chooses the art and well, wouldn't this be nice at the airport? I take it to the Airport Commission for recommendation, and then I would take it to City Council. So, for example, the Airport Commission could say no, and City Council could still say yes, because they're just advisory to the council. So that would be, I think, the progression.
Okay, so if we are at the point where we would like to recommend that this piece be installed at the airport, do you have any idea for how long they?
Yeah, the time, well, there's two things to consideration. There would be an artist honorarium, so it's not a free loan. We worked out approximately a cost of $1,000 per month for a $6,000 loan, with additional $850 for transport, installation, and deinstall. The period of time would be October through the end of March, so it takes us through our full season. So we'd hit the film festival, Modernism Week, tennis tournament, sort of all of the key things that happen through our prime season.
So the timing would be, we would have to, in September, I think, vote the funds.
Right.
But in the meantime, may we forward to you a request that you find out if the airport would be amenable to having this?
Sure. Let me. So you've had some preliminary discussion with airport staff?
Well, yes,
Or-
well, with
The chair of
the
the-
chair, Allison
Al.
Jones. And we actually met at the art gallery so that he could see it in person, and he met it with extreme.
And where were you looking to put this, on the ground floor or upstairs in the main terminal?
Ground floor. But the one thing we tried to work out this week in meeting with Al, so that Al, Greg and I could actually go to the airport and look at all of the various options for its placements. So that's
Okay,
to be
so
determined.
I think the best way to do it is at the next airport commission, I would just put on for a discussion item. If we have a picture of it,
And maybe,
and then we'd ask
Russell could come.
a liaison from this
Yeah.
commission and a subcommittee from them to come up with a recommendation on a location, because there's lots of possible
Yeah.
locations at the airport. They can make a recommendation, we'll bring it back here, and then you would have the final, when you're ready to go, send it to council for for approval.
Yeah, and I'm certainly happy to make a presentation at the Airport Commission with the artists, so that they have all of the information.
And you could consider that the airport could pay for this art and save your budget.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
But just to interject, I inquired with that with the chairperson, Allison Jones, and he said they would have no budget for spending on the art.
Well, city council would make that decision,
Oh, okay, well, good.
and
All right.
they have a substantial fund balance in the airport, I would note.
Nice
All
to
right.
know, right. Okay.
That works for me.
And this would be a good sort of pilot, again, for how to work with something like the Airport Commission. And, it's entirely possible that, we could pay some of the costs, for example, installing it, and they could pay the honorarium or vice versa. But I'm very pleased that they started by asking us if we could increase the amount of art in the airport. We also have to repair and make sure there are plaques on the art that is there. But
What kind of art do they want? Like what?
we don't know. They don't. I
Right.
don't think they know. They.
Yeah, see, they have no concept of what sort of art they want, so our role, in my opinion, certainly as we've seen in the last couple of years, is bringing Palm Springs into a very art-forward position with doing the Grit Art Pit with the David Cerny babies, the Ryan Campbell mural, the graffiti art park that we just completed. That's showing the people who are coming to this town now, this is the type of art in Crushing Inertia. This is what they expect. Modern, contemporary, edgy, exciting.
So going in there and getting beyond security and looking at it and.
This we're talking about, I think, before security, right?
Yes, the goal
Like
is to,
For other things,
Yeah.
like really going and looking at the site and seeing what they can help with.
Right.
right, yeah.
Could you?
But the
when-
art that's beyond security requires, the TSA approval anytime someone goes in to maintain it or anything, so it's
So this
more
is like
complicated.
Before you go into security.
Yeah, because the goal for public art is to have anyone in the city, anyone sitting here or myself, if we want to drive to the airport and look at this, you could do that.
Could you, when you meet with the airport, ask them about art festivals or things of that nature? For example, I went to graduate school in Atlanta, and it wasn't unusual for the airport to have some kind of art show, festival, things of that nature. I mean, since the door is open, and it's been open for a while,
Yeah.
let's push all the way through, especially
Well, I
if they're
think-
paying.
I think the art in the airport has become a little bit static, like in many other parts of the city. It's just been there for such a long time that people don't just walk by it and don't notice it. So I think changing things out is very worthwhile.
And we could consider doing our next juried art show at the airport.
There you go. Just what everybody loves, airports.
Would it be worth thinking about if we want to take some of the sculptures that are there, rotate them out? Or is that-
It reminds me of a phrase from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that says, "In no language is there the phrase as beautiful as an airport." Okay, now, we still don't have Mara, so I think we'll still hold on the road signs project. What I would like to do is see if we can do a little bit of a summation of the 30th anniversary and the projects that went on this year. And what I'm passing around is the list of artists at the 30 by 30 exhibit who received Commissioner's Choice Awards. And on the back of it is a copy of the thank you note that I wrote to the artists who were selected for the show. We have with us today several of the artists, and I think this might be a good point to hear from. Do you want to frame it a little bit?
I was hoping Sarah can't get here till 5.
Right,
so
well,
she-
we could hold that till
Yeah,
she
we can
gets
hold
here.
that
Okay.
until afterwards. So a few people have talked to me. Would you turn your, oh, sorry. So, we had our wrap-up of the show last Thursday and our breakdown on Friday. So the show was fantastic. The museum loved it. It was a perfect location for it. They were, we hung the whole show ourselves, cleaned up the whole show ourselves. We tried to not have the museum really do any work except the nights of, but they were really helpful for us. So I think it ended up being a great collaborative event where the museum didn't have to do really much. They gave us that wonderful space and they were so generous in our taking it over. It was awesome. So I think everybody ended up being really, really excited and happy. So a few of the artists who talked to me about coming to talk to us are here today. So maybe if we have them come kind of tell us what they would like to do, since not all of you guys were able to be there for both events. And then you can familiarize yourselves with their work. So Richard, since Richard has an electronic proposal and you reached out first, do you want to come talk first and then Bijan?
Come and sit up here, and
And then Faith, if you want to say anything, you're welcome to afterwards.
yes.
Oh, yes,
come
you're
take
on.
this chair.
And let us know if you can't hear.
Yeah, I thank you, and I'm doing pretty good. I've cochlear implant. It's like been a miracle for my life, going deaf and then coming out of it.
Now, wait,
So-
we need you to give us your name and spell it, because
Okay.
there's this poor woman who writes the minutes based on only listening to a tape.
Okay.
So-
My name is Richard Becker, and Becker, and I live in Poway, California, and came here as a kid. I was telling Tracy, grandparents bring me here as a kid, have day shakes through the tram and all that. But I haven't been to Palm Springs and really looked at the art in so long. And when I came to this 3030 exhibit, I was amazed. I mean, the museum and the art in the streets and the Cerny babies and the whole graffiti park and all that kind of stuff. You guys should be really proud of that. So congratulations. I need to get out more often. The file come up okay. So I thought I'd just I put in slideshow mode and there. So I was the slideshow mode doesn't it's not clicking.
It's not going into slideshow mode.
Well, okay, we can run it like this and see all my notes. As a child, I took trips to Palm Springs with my grandparents. So thank you. I was surprised. I came to pick up my work and had 2 Commissioner Choice Awards. So one for Buoyant and one for the Palm Springs, Palm Springs I Love You or Palm Springs Always Cool, the Roman kind of mashup works. There we go. That almost worked. Something was happening there. There. And so just real quick background. So next slide, please. My art, I kind of do everything, and that's what I've done. Lots of monuments and some pretty serious, like POW monuments, honoring fallen soldiers. The POW monument for like the National Cemetery, U.S. National Cemetery. Tight figurative works. I've done many pieces for the Emmys, portraits for their Hall of Fame, like Ron Howard and Mary Tyler Moore, and then I've done some kind of goofy fun stuff, like bust of Homer Simpson for 20th Century Fox, and as I've come out of my deafness, I've gotten more and more interested in some of the light, bright, and working more in stainless steel, working more in the light colors. And one of the pieces that came out of this was Buoyant. So next slide, please. And Buoyant is a baby in a float tube. And ta-da, that's, I mean, it's a baby float tube. And I always, you know, I know that art is in the eye of the beholder. And I sometimes don't want to feel like explaining too much about what I feel about it. But you know, I kind of, you know, joy of life, just relaxing, taking it easy, you know, your inner child. And that's the piece there. And at the show, I had a stainless steel version of that right when you walk in, it was right there. It was wonderful placement, thank you, of that piece. And this is just a rendering of it. I didn't, so it's a great piece for outdoors. And I think, you know, the Palm Springs and fun in the sun and all that. And stainless steel is a great material too, because it's just so, you know, hassle-free and robust. So that's,
Yeah, it deflects the heat, so.
yeah, and that's the other thing too. People touch it, and it doesn't get hot like a bronze piece would. So the next piece, P.S. I Love You, and the woman who does all she does the Abyssinian sculpture. She does, she's like this really artist person that's here. I can't remember her name. Pardon me. Yeah. Yeah, she was asking me, like, what was the connection between these two? And I didn't get a chance to answer. And so I thought, well, I'll make a slide on it. So my art's been fairly bifurcated. I've got these fun kind of, you know, whimsical pieces that have some depth. I mean, you see some references, you know, Kaz and Koons and stuff. But then next, you hit the button again. And then I have these pieces like I just completed this sculpture of Mercury for the Los Angeles Athletic Club, and it spans 2 floors, stainless steel. It's got staircase wrapping, and it's just classical, figurative, although with a contemporary twist. Once you make something in stainless, it just looks so, you know, contemporary. I was looking at what I could do that was some intersection of those, and so from that came the pieces that I had. The next slide or next button click. This piece. I put this Tot series I call them. I put these Tot goggles on it, put the swimsuit on it, and next slide please. And I just thought it worked so great. I mean, and at the same time, I had a client saying, "You got to get out to the desert because the desert's got so much happening." And so I looked up and I saw this 3030, and so I go, okay, this is like perfect for Palm Springs. And then in this weird cosmic coincidence, it turns out that the sculpture that I got this museum scan. This is I'll tell you about the sculpture that's the basis of this. It's a Mercury, actually a Hermes, but it's a Mercury. So it's like a Mercury. I just did a Mercury, and then so I just thought there was something that this is meant to be. So. So anyway, so the base of that is a sculpture called Marcellus. It's a Roman. It was originally a Greek bronze that was appropriated by Augustus. You know, the Augustus, and we will be appropriating it from him. So it'll be like 3rd generation of art appropriation of a cool sculpture, cool pose, everything.
We're going to have to ask you to sort of wrap it up.
Oh, okay, yeah, and so one more slide, and yeah, next slide, the companion piece. Guess I Love You. You know, you guys. When I do commissions, I usually collaborate on what you guys want, but and then next slide. So there's.
Thank you.
Be right there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
And I just want to remind all of us that what we have to do after we get a chance to talk to all of you is figure out what the next steps are. We find ourselves at a new point where we have all these projects we want to do, and we just have to figure out how to go about them. We've mostly been reactive up till now, like a developer will buy a piece of art or something, and now we're sort of doing things on our own. So, but thank you.
Okay,
for
okay, yeah,
coming
thanks,
over,
that'd be
and
cool.
thank you for being part of this exhibit. So who would like to go next?
Bijan.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Now you are definitely going to have to spell your name for the for the
Yes.
minutes.
You probably have that on the file, I don't know. I just brought that just in case. My name is Bijan Masumpana, and it's B-I-J-A-N. Masumpana is M-A-S-O-U-M-P-A-N-A-H.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank you for selecting me and others to be part of this endeavor. It was very fantastic. I was quite surprised and honored. So I just had some questions regarding how we're going to pursue from here on. As you mentioned, there's some planning to go with that. But since, I'm just curious that there are some steps I'd like to take towards the completion of this and also the way it would be executed. So I was just maybe ask you, what are the plans? So is it possible that I could start planning something, or?
I'm afraid not yet. Here's
Okay.
the problem. We have an embarrassment of riches to work with. And if you stay a little longer in the meeting, what we're going to talk about is really how to start.
Sure.
We need to have some list of projects that we want to do, and
Right.
we're going to try to
Right.
pull that out from what all the commissioners are interested in.
Yeah.
But we were overwhelmed by the number and the quality of submissions to this exhibit, and I think it really reminded us that we should always have opportunities for people to present an idea,
Right.
and then we'll see how we can go with it. Do you have anything you want to add to, like, what the process is going to be, or we?
Do you want to tell a little bit about yourself to the whole commission?
Sure.
Because you're a local artist,
Right, right.
and in the other work that you do.
Right. I have, my website. I do murals. I do different things, decorative work. And so sculpture was part of my, makeup. And also I work on stone sculpture, which is one of my, new, I can't say new because it's always been developing. Everything that I do, as you know, people develop gradually on. So I have many interests, but mostly I've been doing murals for like City of Indio. I've done the large 71 feet by 17 at, it's about the history of Indio. It's called Old Indio, so some of you might have seen it. I've done Desert Hot Springs City Hall mural, and many, like traffic light boxes to go in Palm Desert, India, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things I've done.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great. And I know you had a maquette of it there. Okay, I think we should let
Sure,
some of these
sure.
other guys talk. But
Sounds good.
again, thank you for
very
coming
much, by
and
the way. I
do-
really appreciate your involvement, and being here tonight, it was really eye-opener.
and you're welcome to stay and see what we do with it. Is there someone else who would like to speak?
Madam Chair, I'd just like, as a reminder, I don't think we're allowed to ask questions. Is that correct? Just so
That's-
the artists will know that we're not being impersonal, we're
Right,
just not
right.
allowed to ask any questions.
Yes, particularly if someone speaks in the beginning. This is a little bit different because we've sort of asked them to just, so it's fine. Okay. And,
Hello?
okay.
It's working.
Good.
Hi, my name is Anne Faith Nichols. That's ANNE, FAITHNICHOLLS. I'm a professional artist, and I've been working around the world for 20 years, showing in galleries, museums. Next month, I'll be showing in the Bridgehampton Museum of Art for Art Hamptons. I'm also on my way to a residency at Chalk Hill Residency in Northern California. I've been doing art for a while. It's my great passion. And I'm so pleased that the committee here has chosen my work Transplant to be a mural in Palm Springs. I myself am newly local, so I'm a transplant. And I think that paying homage to visitors, immigrants, snowbirds, people who come from other places is so important in our city. And my piece Transplant aims to do that. I didn't bring a maquette today because you guys already picked it. So you guys have all seen it, you all like it, and I'm pleased that you picked it. And I'm actually here today to find out the next steps like everybody else. So I was very pleased to enter into this competition. I found out about it from you guys, and I was pleased that you picked winners. And I'm excited to know where it's going to go and when it's going to happen.
Thank you. We are too.
Thank you.
We have a lot of work to do to plan that. So, but thank you.
Are you
for
able to
coming
tell
today.
us, artists, when we can expect you to move forward on this juried exhibition? Because we did enter with the perception that it would be a project that would
Well,
come to fruition.
What
all due
what the
respect.
call said was that it would be considered for a project. And now we need to figure out how many of these projects we can do. I mean,
Okay.
it's not, that's why we can't give you a timetable. As I say, that these are ones that various commissioners thought were worth pursuing. And so that's the next topic of our discussion on the agenda, is what to do, how to move it forward.
Okay,
So
well,
thank you.
I thank the committee and the mayor for picking my piece and personally handing me the award. Thank you.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, I just want a point of reference to those who are, we are not having meetings for the next 2 months. So I just want to manage expectations that, yes, we're having a meeting today, but there will be a time for the next couple of months where probably, if we have a meeting, it has to be called specially. So just to not understand that there's going to be some time going.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? Very good. Then what we're going to do, before we finish with some wrap-up of this last year, is to look at action item number 2, which is a proposal from Commissioner Gladstone for the purchase of road signs, which is art by Gerald Clark, in an amount not to exceed $24,000. And Commissioner Gladstone has the proposal, so you can see.
First, thank you for moving this on the agenda. I had my son's
You have to speak really close to
graduation dance performance to attend, so thank you. Sorry.
from kindergarten.
He was a bear. So I'm really excited to present to you this proposal for Cahuilla road signs by Gerald Clark Jr., who's an enrolled member of the Cahuilla Band of Indians. He lives on the Cahuilla Indian Reservation in Southern California in Anza. He's a great leader in the Native community, Native American community. He's an educator in his career, but also in practice. His artwork really seeks to sort of connect people to the land, to indigenous history and culture. And he's a professor at UC Riverside. He's been there for 25 years, but he's also a cattle rancher. He does an annual roundup, and he works on the land on his family's ranch in Anza. And he has a real presence with the, he's a real leader in the Cahuilla community as well. So the proposal is to make 10 to 12 metal road signs in connection to a series of works that he's been making for the last 2 decades, which feature the language of the Native American people of the area. So there are a few examples that are on the screen. These are recent ones that the top two are maybe most relevant for us. He will sometimes translate the text into English when necessary, or he uses icons. So we all recognize the yucca on the left, I think, and then on the right is Mukat, who is sort of the native god, the sort of almighty being. But there are many other examples. Scroll down. I don't know if you received this report or have a copy of the report, but the purpose of the Road Sign series is to promote awareness of place and Indigenous history, and he's done several installations of the road signs, including the language of the native community. So, for example, on the left is I learned in the native language, the Luiseno language. He's installed in Indianapolis, Indiana. He's worked with cities, so he understands the potential complications of installing signs that look like directional signs, but as he says, it doesn't matter where they go because it's all Indian land. So he's very open to to where it goes, and he's really interested in having these works be present throughout the Palm Springs area. When I talked to him about like the Boys and Girls Club and the libraries and the parks and sort of liminal spaces where we don't normally think the people gather, but obviously there are neighborhoods and communities there, he's very interested in that. He's very interested in drawing attention to the natural world, to the plants that are specific to this region. He is going to, if this project moves forward, he would reach out to his friends and colleagues at the Agua Caliente, in the Agua Caliente band, and ask them what kinds of signs would be meaningful to them, what kinds of stories he would want to have represented, they would want to have represented, and then through that he would develop, either use signage that he's already developed or develop some new signage. So you'll see some installed in situ. He's also a bird singer. He's one of the leaders of. He's a traditional bird singer. So you'll see some signage that relates to that. And this is installed on his reservation. I am singing. So due to the public nature of this project, he would propose that he works with the city to install the signs at agreed upon locations. Again, he's very flexible. They could be installed on already existing signs or poles, and there's specialty hardware that exists to prevent unauthorized removal of the signs, though, like a lot of installation artists, he kind of welcomes personal interventions. He's not, that's part of like the lived environment. Another few things to note is that as an artist, he's mid career in his. He's been around a long time, but because he operates outside of the conventional gallery world, he doesn't. He doesn't really care for it either. He hasn't really had as much of a museum presence as you might expect for someone with his many years of education and experience. But we'll see a lot of him in 2020 in the Coachella Valley and beyond. He's participating in the High Desert Test Sites project in the High Desert. The Palm Springs Art Museum is doing a retrospective of his work, and this also coincides with the opening of the Agua Caliente Cultural Center in 2020. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for this commission, for the city of Palm Springs, to show its commitment to indigenous populations, to the native communities who founded this place, and also contemporary artists who are working in forms that are a little unexpected. These objects are meant to sort of surprise you, and he's a really funny artist and a very he has a lot of humor in his art, and it's meant to trigger that in you. And he apologizes he's not able to attend today, but if this is approved, he would be thrilled to come back and sort of give a report on what he's been thinking about. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions. The costs are relatively minimal. The budget that we put together is under $20,000 actually, and I'm assuming the installation costs will actually be very, very minimal. So I think the number there is to accommodate for potential installation costs, because I know in the past we'd moved some projects forward and that hadn't been properly budgeted, but because this can be installed on already existing structures, the hope is that it would be very minimal expense.
And I think we have some assurance that the Public Works Department would help us.
And I should also mention that these are a commission, so they'd be part of the museum, the commission's collection, and could be reinstalled, taken down. They're very easy to store, but they would be part of the collection.
And we've had a lot of suggestions, questions from people about trying to get more art in the parks and in the neighborhoods rather than such a concentration downtown. And I think these would be perfect for some of the parks to, as having to do with the trees or whatever that are there, or just, I like the humor too,
The image on the right, we held on to the tree limbs. That's specific to the story of the origins of that tribe. So he sort of tells the story of how these peoples came into being, the sort of folklore of it in a single word with a single image, which I think is really beautiful.
So would this be permanent, or would it be temporary, or a combo, or?
Yeah, I think it could really adapt to whatever we would want. I mean, I think these sorts of things, I could see them being installed for, say, a year, 6 months to a year, and maybe you keep a couple up, maybe some are removed, maybe some disappear, who knows? But I mean, I think the idea is, he's very flexible with how its longevity and its placement, so.
So when is the show at the museum? Do you know?
It opens sometime next January, and it's it's his first retrospective.
So if I could make a comment, Gerald Clark is an amazing asset to our community. He is not only a leader in the Native community, he's a leader into the non-Native community. He's very involved with the first Native American college in the desert. He is a bird singer who he's cross-tribal. He's at I saw him a couple weeks ago at the KWET for the veterans up at the Morongo Reservation, and he is so involved with the community. He's a jewel that we need to make our wider valley know about. And he's just he's a Renaissance man of Native people. He's a gatherer, he's a horticulturalist, he's an artist that uses land for inspiration. He's just amazing.
Okay, so.
And I'm just, if we do this, I'm just honored to have a program like this. I mean, I've been talking about tribal outreach since I was on the committee, and it really just pulls all of my emotional heartstrings. So thank you, Mara.
I think it does really speak to the mission that we're trying to carry out now. So I would like to propose that we approve this project and that we authorize Commissioner Gladstone, and perhaps Commissioner Merrigan would like to help to work out the details, the actual signs to be done for Palm Springs. And there's time in this process to bring it to the meeting in September as a completely finished proposal. But I think we should authorize them to go ahead and be able to commit that amount of money.
So I'd be happy to make a motion to move forward with the proposal with artist Gerald Clark for the purchase of road signs for an amount not to exceed $24,000, with Commissioners Gladstone and Merrigan working with the artist to bring the proposal to the commission for our September meeting.
And I would be happy to second that motion.
Purchase and installation.
Right,
Purchase and installation.
very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much,
you. No,
everybody.
thank you for finding really just a
Yeah, this one's a home
terrific-
run.
Low impact for us and.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have one question, Mara. Madam Chair, can I just ask Mara, maybe I missed it. Now, would Mr. Clark be installing the signs, choosing the location, rather?
Yeah, and I think he would really love to talk to anybody who has
Okay,
input
all right.
on that anywhere.
And-
That's his MO, so I think over
Yes.
the summer, we can set up a bunch of different meetings and sort of just talk to people
And
that you think.
lastly, would he be interested in doing some kind of native ceremony?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps at the museum.
Or,
that-
or
where-
just at other sites, you
Yeah.
know, with the signage and everything, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It
museum
could
will
be
keep him
really-
busy, but it'd be great to get him out
But
in the
our
in the
Thursday
community.
nights, I mean, there might be one that would work for that. That's great. All right. I would like to ask Sarah and Madalena to come up and join us. And let's finish sort of a review of what we've done, what we've accomplished this year. And I'd like to end by going around under commissioners' comments and asking each commissioner to put in any particular projects or directions that they would like us to take, rather than try to plan next year right now. Let's set up the framework for how to do it. But why don't you guys introduce yourselves for the minutes?
Okay, my name is Sarah Scheidemann, and I've had a great time working with the Arts Commission this past year.
Sit down.
Yes.
My name is Madalena Garza. I manage our social media and help with the marketing.
Very good. Now, Sarah, did you have something you wanted to sort of do a report on? Highlights
I
of-
do. I'm sending it to myself right now. I just came from another meeting, so
Okay, all right.
gearing up.
Well, then we can start with Madalena. If you wanted to give some sort of statistics on,
Okay, sure. Well, today we just reached 1,600 followers on Instagram, so that's
wow,
good.
that's great.
I think we've been doing great. From January to June, we've had on Facebook a total of 159 likes, which doesn't sound much, but on Facebook it is, and for us. And on our Instagram, 428 new followers before today, because we had a boost there. I'll send you, especially Melanie and Nan, I'll send you all the stats. But we've had a great response, especially on Instagram. People are now engaging a lot more, leaving comments, liking, sharing, using the hashtag #PSPublicArts. So people they're being aware that the commission is working, and they know about all the projects that are going on. I think we had a good response from the people attending the events, and that was in part of all the campaigns that we did, and boosted the posts, but I think those went well.
According to the statistics from the posts that I boosted, just for a few days, we reached in the thousands of people and had interactions from hundreds, depending on the post.
Yes, on ads reach, we've had 10,217 people reached, and organically 1,851. Organically is without the paid ads, so that's good.
Great, and we saw that in terms of the number of people who came to the birthday celebration and the exhibit. And we're getting comments from people with suggestions for things that we should do or consider.
Yes, and also, something I've noticed is the graffiti park. They are some of the most successful posts on Instagram. The babies and basically the babies and the graffiti park, and that also involves the 30 by 30 exhibition. So, I mean, just so you know, I'll send you the report and you'll be able to see all the photos and specific posts. But
That's great. And how about the website? Do you have any way of
we
gauging how
also
that's?
created the website for PS Public Arts. It's on the beginner stage, but we will add during this month a guide to all the murals in the city, and after that we'll start adding a little more key pieces of the collection. Not all of the collection from what we've talked, but at least the most recent and the most representative of the city, so that people can have a place to find everything that's available.
Who's taking those pictures of the collection?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to mention, I was surprised not to see any posts about Armando Lerma's mural at the Boys and Girls Club.
I think it wasn't quite, last time we inquired, it wasn't quite done.
Well,
But we should.
Well, even just, I saw him every morning for like a week and a half, installing, doing the work and in the mornings. And so it'd be great to even see some in-process photos of artworks like this in the future, if possible.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful and.
And I think we should have some sort of an unveiling, the way we did it at St. Paul's did such a nice job introducing their mural. The problem was Armando was in an automobile accident right about the time he was supposed to start, and so the schedule kept getting pushed back, and we just didn't have a chance
no problem.
to catch
It's
up.
just, when I talked to him there, he just talked about his own experience at the Boys and Girls Club, and that he tried to represent people that he remembers being there. So he, there are a lot of people of color represented in the images, and he's drawing from his personal memories because he spent a lot of time at the Boys and Girls Club. So I just, he was there. It's that Sunrise Strip. We're all driving down it, but it just be. I literally couldn't. I had to stop because I just kept seeing him there every day. But anyway, it's just in the future, it'd be just great to see that work being done. I think that's the kind of content that's really interesting for people.
Fabulous. Yes, we will definitely include that mural on the website, and I think this next week will be the moment to just start really pushing that mural, because before that it was all about the graffiti park and then the 30 by 30 and the babies party. So now I think all those pieces can now be pushed into
And the Boys and
social
Girls
media.
Club is very excited about having done it. And now they want to know if we can get the bus shelter painted the same blue.
It would be great to
That'd be a
do an
challenge.
interview with him, like at the mural.
Yeah, that's one
To
thing I
talk
was
about
going to
this. I
ask
think
Madeleine,
that's-
because the interview that you did with Lucia at the Graffiti Art
Was
Project
one of the most
was so
popular,
brilliant, and
yeah.
that's what we should be doing with Armando and all of the artists that we work with. That
Yes.
should be a component to all of our social
That would
media,
be
is the
great.
video interview.
Well, I'm glad he liked it.
Yeah, well, and I think that,
Yes.
with the summer months are a time where we can circle back to some of these people and get them.
An interview inside.
Yes, exactly,
I just have
exactly.
one other question, and good job. When people go to the city or the city's website and punch in public arts, excuse me for saying punched in, but you know what I mean. Does any of our social media stuff come up? What I'm getting at, I sent an email earlier to our chair. The City of Palm Springs has a new app.
Okay.
And that's what I'm really asking, are we connected to that app in any way? Just throwing it out there, you don't have, just
okay.
something to think about.
Well, the
Actually,
website,
we-
it's do you want to?
We need to know to what extent we can change the page on the city's website to reflect the newer things that it's not
Yeah.
clear to us how you update that.
Yes, so the answer is yes, you can have as much modification to it as you like. So we just need to get a process of, because we have people in every department who can change the web. And actually, we can have you do that as well. It'd probably be better to have you do the update. So
That would be great.
let me work on that. And with regard to the new app just sort of launched in the last couple days.
Yeah, 'cause
We have the ability to do our social media on there. We need to link it probably to what you're doing on the arts, so we
great.
certainly can do that. And to the extent we can add other things. When we take a look at it, we certainly be open to your feedback on how we can we can actually list the public art and probably do the pictures on here. So
That'd be great. Or even
I think
just,
we can get there.
do the news and the new ones, but have a place to refer them back to, a sort of inventory of everything. Because I think the website probably, on the city website, hasn't been updated probably in several years. And it has the basic information for developers, but it doesn't have anything really for someone who's just interested in finding out what's going on. It's very sort of.
We
cut
can
and
probably
dry.
have all the information, like the minutes and all of that on the city's website, and then have a link to the Public Arts website where we have the schedule and all the photos and so that we don't necessarily have to update two websites.
Right, so what happens when it's linked to the website? So when the website gets updated, it's automatically updated. It's a mirror image almost on here. So I think, I just got to work out the details. We're probably getting you access to the arts webpage. We may cover both of it, but we'll figure that out.
Okay.
And can you tell Madalena the name of this new app, or how we can?
What is it?
My Palm Springs.
My Palm Springs.
My
My Palm Springs app, yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully we can connect our social media with the museum.
Okay. And the other sort of part
You
of
didn't
this
hear-
is
you
that
didn't hear me, did you?
we found it was very successful to use this call for entries, which, by the way, is put out by something called the Western States Arts Foundation. It's a nonprofit. They don't charge for each entry that someone makes, so that it's something we can use for. I'd like to see it as a continuing way for people to propose things to us, not just for this one exhibit, but just ongoing. And we need to just simply sort of publicize that it's still available.
Yes, we've had a lot of comments on social media asking, especially after the graffiti park, if there were any other opportunities.
Yeah.
And after 30 by 30, if there was any other opportunity to apply. So it would be good to add a page where people
Well,
can add
in the
proposals.
past, this Arts Commission, and certainly in other places, keeps a standing roster of people who are interested in being offered entries into commissions or whatever it is. There's a list to make sure that the information gets to them. And I think using this call for entries is one way that we could do it. We could always say you can register with this and, tell us what your media is and what kinds of projects you would want to do. And then it's very easy to communicate. This letter I sent to the Commissioner's Choice ones was generated through this website. It makes it very easy. Okay, Sarah, you ready? You want to
Yeah,
tell us
sure.
what the
Yeah.
highlights are?
Do you want to use this? I didn't think to send your piece.
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
realize you didn't send it to them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I have it on my phone too, but I could hold it up.
And you could instead of it being on that big screen.
Okay, so Sarah, we contracted with Sarah to do both the Art is Here event in the fall and this 30 by 30 exhibit. And so we've asked her to come and just tell us what she thinks the successes were and things that we might do differently next year. And
So this year, it started back in October when actually I first did the first project, which was a Felt Eye View, the Public Art Piece Commission. There's kind of how I see the work that I've done over the past couple months are like three main projects: Felt Eye View, Art is Here, and 30 by 30. So the Felt Eye View was a commission piece, a map of the city of Palm Springs and all the movable public art pieces. From that commission piece, it was really fun. Tracy and I went out. We did a lot of community outreach. We went to Palm Springs High School. We worked with the students there to have them conceptualize their own public art pieces and make them out of felt and contribute to the project at large. And then we also featured an exhibit inside I think it's their Marks Center for Art. And then also for a brief period of time, we had a poster up in downtown Palm Springs before it got taken down. I think all that went really well. One thing Tracy and I have really been talking about is how inspiring the Palm Springs High School class was. The concepts that the students came up with were, really amazing, and it was interesting to have them give their perspective on what they want to see in their city and what's relevant to them, and just give them their own voice. Maybe something for next year would be to go out into elementary, middle, and do high school again, and possibly give like all the kids their own art show at some point, all about public art.
We could also put them on our website. There's just, you have, what, 18 of them framed?
Yeah.
Because their statements are so good.
Yeah, the statements are. I loved it. It was really inspiring, and the kids are really creative, and it was really fun to inform them about what's going on in their community as well. Another ongoing project is the Art is Here, which that started off with the kickoff event on Museum Way. That was, I would say, more like an activation and community outreach. But, the mission there was to really inform everyone about public art and get them excited for the season coming up. And I think it'd be great to bring that back and maybe feature some of the newer pieces that you guys have acquired through this past year, and talk a little bit more about, your future plans coming up for this next season. Let's see, what else? And then the most recent thing that was really an honor to be a part of was the 30 by 30 exhibition at the museum, and doing the call for entry and getting submissions from all over, and going through the process of listening to people's concepts and ideas. I think it was really inspiring, just to hear everyone and to see what they want in their community. Again, it's just been very nice to be able to reach out to the community and talk to people and get people excited about public art, which kind of rarely gets talked about in school or even just amongst like art communities, I feel like sometimes. So, and that was really great to be able to work with all the artists and install the show, and the museum was like a great partner. It was probably the best scenario, the way it turned out. So, yeah.
This is great. Any areas where you think we just sort of missed the boat? Just are there things that I know there are unfinished things. For example, we've been trying to get banners put up on those posts, and everything takes longer than it ought to. But I think that the theme of Art is Here worked very well through the rest of the year. And we've talked about in October of this year having some kind of an event that sort of caps the year. And I think that's one of the things we should think about. We originally thought a panel discussion, but it might be a presentation from another city that has done a lot of, for example, Sacramento just did a year-long project called Wide Open Walls, and murals all over the place. We might get someone from another city to come and give some ideas. I think that I had made a list of some of the ideas that people have proposed for next year, and we've talked about them a bit, about keeping the call for entry open and that kind of thing. But I think that probably the best way to sort of pull this all together would be to ask each of you there's a section here that says Commissioners' Comments and Requests. If you would like to leave us with one or two ideas that you think are the next step that we should take. And then let's use our subcommittees or whatever to plan. Tracy's done kind of a framework, and I think that's a good starting point. But I'd like to hear what everybody's priority would be.
Can I just ask a question,
Yeah.
Madam Chair? Just to piggyback. and this is for Mara, what was the museum's response to the 3030? I mean, it was a great place, great location. Is that something we can do again next year, or?
I
don't mean
would
to
think
put you on
so.
the spot, but.
Actually, it was very fortunate that the new director for the Art
Yes.
Museum arrived
Yes.
that day. I
Yes.
think he got off a plane and
Yes,
ended
he
up
was there. He was
in
there.
our exhibit, and was
So the
apparently has
feedback-
done a lot of public art in his
Yes.
previous posts and would love to work. And the education department at the museum has
Yes.
been great as far as working with us. So
I guess I would only say, we should probably have, I think we've had this happen before, but we had someone from the Public Programs Department or Education Department come early in the year and talk to them about our plans. I will tell you that a lot of people at the museum were surprised about it. And because I had sort of missed a meeting or two, I was also a little bit surprised at the scale of it. I mean, I thought it was terrific, but I guess no one realized how big a project it was. And so I would say, let's communicate a little more so that we can take advantage of the publicity from that. I mean, I don't.
It's true.
You know,
It was-
I mean,
we-
you guys did great, but I just think if it's something that you want to do biannual, every other year or something, maybe we just need to get it on the calendar internally, because right now I think the museum, we've already calendared the year. I mean, next year is calendared. Like Gerald Clark is already it's already calendared. So yeah, but I guess that's what I would say. Let's just have that conversation like in September. Or over the summer, and then like firm things at our first meeting in September.
Well, the education department did reach out about doing that, and that includes the sort of Thursday night periodic events that to sort of enhance the free evening. But we did notice that, for example, we had missed having the 30 by 30 exhibit in the museum publication.
Right, so you missed that deadline. And the other thing is, I actually think it's really great to do it at the end of May, as we did, because it's when the museum actually gets a little quieter, but there's still enough people in town that you can really get people there. So, even now, it's kind of dead-end a little bit in town, so but I think the timing of that to do it at the end of May is like really good, and we should just sort of keep that there. I would say everyone internally in the museum would also appreciate that.
Super. Anyone else want to just sort of wrap this up with a comment either about things that we did this year or things that you would like to see us do for sure next year?
Well, I just wanted, moving forward when we come back to our September session. So in between now and then, I would like to, or I plan on identifying probably 6 walls in town that are prime for murals, and being that we already have some selections from our 30 by 30 exhibit, that between now and September, the subcommittee will meet with these artists and sort of take a look at some walls and come with some firm proposals in September, and also commissioning some artwork, so we also have that in front of us as well. So subcommittees will meet with the artists from the 30 by 30 show over the summertime and come in September with presentations.
Do you want to talk about the map going on vacation?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll do my couple.
Okay.
Well,
Or you do.
I'm next after him, but you can go.
Okay. One part I left out is that the map, I found like a summer vacation home for it. It's to the right of Dead or Alive. It's where one of the Desert X installations were the video one. And my friend happens to own it, and I just asked her, like, oh, if it's empty, can we put the felt map in here and just like have free storage? And so she said sure, and so I kind of want to set up, make it visually interesting and set the map in there, and maybe just like some little furniture and like a fake little, martini glass or something, and just say it's on vacation.
Okay, that's good. Though I
somewhere
do
to
think
store
that
it, basically.
come fall, it's going to need a it's going to need to be put in a format that's more easier to store and to move.
Yeah,
Or to
yeah.
display somewhere, because I mean, you've hauled that thing around quite a bit.
Yeah, it
and
needs
a
a
frame
little
perhaps
maintenance.
and a place to go.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. And I realized about 5 of the felt pieces were missing. So,
That's
you know,
just-
it needs like a little maintenance and updating and yeah.
It's extraordinary that someone would steal little pieces of felt from the. Okay, are you set?
Thank you.
Okay, you're on, Commissioner
A
Murray.
goal for next year, Commissioner Yanni and I have met a couple of times, and we did a drive-through, a drive-by, if you will, in the north end of Palm Springs. And the hope is to commission an artist to do a sculpture on Indian Avenue in the north end of Palm Springs. Hopefully, we can come back with a proposal of an artist from the 3030 to do that, or
That would be great. Do you know anything, there was a notice today about a whitewater park in the north end that they're holding some community meetings on. And I have no idea what sort of, there's not a lot of description of what it is, but it might be a place to look at.
well,
But-
the community meets once a month. They have some of you have been to those meetings at the James O. Jesse Center.
And I think one of the hearings about the park is there, so maybe you can just find out if it's a location that would be.
Well, we've identified a place for
Oh, you
the
have.
for the statue. Statue? Well, you know what I mean. Artwork, whatever. Yeah.
Do you mean Indian Canyon?
Indian. What did I say? Indian 111. Indian Canyon, and I'm sorry I don't have the name of the street with me, but it turns into where James O. Jesse. There used to be a Palm Springs sign there, and
The
it's
supports are still there.
everything's still there, the lighting and everything. We just need
Someone
the
asked me
artist.
what happened to those. Are they like in the yard?
It's supposed to be in the yard. That's-
Yeah, we
We'll
just
go
so
look someday.
you know the artists and the money to do it.
Okay.
We'll make it happen, and the community involvement around that. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Merrigan?
I'll go last.
I guess I'm very happy with everything that's happened, and I would just love to see continued high quality of the work that we're commissioning or artists we're working with to continue. And I would also just generally want to make sure that the Public Art Commission's role and its presence and the projects it does exist outside of the downtown area. So I'm glad that with the Gerald Clark moving forward, that will be a really good way to do that. You know, people live everywhere, and actually more people live beyond outside of the downtown area than, so I just think that in everything that we do, I hope that we continue to try to do a little more of those kinds of projects as well. So
And
thank you.
Also, several years ago, I think you brought up the idea of play structures by artists, that there are very few real play areas in the parks. There's a lot of pickleball and kinds of other things, but for young kids. And
Yeah, and I know that the Recs department recently undertook a large survey because I participated in it at the farmers market. So maybe over the summer we can like reach out and see what, you know, the results are from that and what their plans
Right.
are, and if there's a way that we can, you know, really make those structures aesthetically interesting. You know, I sort of was. As you know, I have kids, and I was like, oh, well, are these like the most technologically advanced like play structures? Like, no, they're not. You know, they're colorful, really beautiful play structures, and I think it's mostly lower income kids who go there who don't have, you know, backyards and pools to hang out in. So to me, that would be an important thing to try to
And that's
revisit
why I
again.
think, you know, we need to reach out to the Parks Commission and the Recreation Commission, et cetera, to find out where we could plug into something that they need. Okay, I guess you're up.
First of all, I do want to thank everybody for moving this commission in this. This is like turning a battleship. Those of you that have been here for a while and where we were a couple of years ago and where we are, So I thank you, Chairman Sheffer, for having a vision and for the commission for standing behind that and moving it forward. The only thing that comes to mind, now that I've been put on the spot, is working with Madalena to come up with maybe some sort of Instagram contest or something with hashtags. I know a couple years ago, it was an idea that was kicked around, and I don't even know how you would do something like that, but I don't know how to do most of the things I start out doing. So that's not going to be, but I think it would be, one of the things doing the baby birthday was that sort of, let's make this a great time to, it's about selfies and art. And how do we promote that with the PS Public Arts hashtag or something to promote our art and use the people who are our Instagram followers or want to be and grow that somehow organically. So that would be what I would want to achieve.
Which is good. And I also should mention that Destination PSP is selling the postcards, and they're looking for more ways. They're selling merchandise that says Imagine Art Here, that they worked out with the artist. And there's lots of other possibilities for branding our art as part of the Palm Springs brand. And so in the back of your mind, I think you should think of ways that that happens. So, all right.
Well, I did.
Mary.
I gave you kind of more than that, so I'm just throwing it out there again this year. So I gave you what we did, my framework from this month, or May last year, is just to see kind of how much stuff we did this year. And then this is my framework for this year. So one of them included, well, a couple quick things. So one thing, going with what Mara said about not just doing everything downtown, which I'm really a huge fan of, I really think we should reach out to the neighborhoods. And we talked a little bit about it when we did the our neighborhood art tour for the NUSA conference. And I talked to Denise Goolsby about it. So I think it would be great if we had outreach to PS1, but then immediately went into the actual neighborhoods and asked them what they want in their neighborhoods for public art, and try to include Parks and Recs, but maybe Parks and Recs has already done some of that information. So that's one thing that would be like a ongoing thing. We've talked about wrapping up the year with the closing lecture at the museum. These are dates that I've just thrown on this. Our block party was really successful. So we talked about wrapping it into Pride this year. So it wouldn't be as early in the month in October when it was really hard to get things paid and everything on time. So October 27th is this Sunday before the Pride parade. So one of the pieces from the 30 by 30 was the temporary clothesline as a color spectrum. So I thought that might be really cool to activate that piece and have another public street party. So that wraps into this Pride parade. I didn't know when Gerald's retrospective was happening, but Mara and I have talked about trying to have some commission outreach with Gerald Clark. Since we had our show, I've found out that our teacher at Palm Springs High School really loved our class. She loved it. So she thought it was really successful, and we want to propose doing another class this year with, another take on another topic, but do the same kind of intense work with the students. They really blossomed over the 2 weeks that we were there. I know it sounds like a long time, but it's it's, their classes are so short. I don't know how anyone learns anything nowadays. But it was a really fulfilling piece of work, and now Ellen Goodwin was at the show closing and wants to have the student show go up in the district offices in the fall. So we kind of have that whole show in a box, so then we can rehang it at the district. So that would be really great. So that's on here. And then the idea that talking to Sarah, we talked about having the map so it has a place to live, but also so we can continue activating it, is kind of have it in a school a semester. And then have like a pop-up about public art with the map, so the students would get to interact with it. And then over a 2-year period, we would be able to hit all the schools in Palm Springs. And then we would have just hopefully the schools would be into it. And I've talked to the superintendent about a little bit about this before when I've run into her a few times. So I would hope, we could use the summer to reach out and see if it would work for the schools, and then it would be kind of a free storage location.
It does
We would have to
be,
have
yeah.
a cover made for
Yeah,
it, though.
and not such a big frame.
And then, so these are a few other things. One, two of my, well, I have a bunch of things that I'd love to do, but one of them from last year, which made it on my list again, is the Agnes Pelton Plein Air Community Workshop in a Park. And then a new one is a mural on the things that women have given to this city. So women have been integral to the development of this city, and they've been founding mothers of this city. And I don't think we educate people enough to know how important women have been to the foundation of Palm Springs and to the development of Palm Springs. So I think for Women's History Month, we should commission a mural of the history of Palm Springs women and ask Renee from the Historical Society, who's done all the research on this, to be a consultant on it, and hopefully put it on the library downtown, because that's where the Historical Society reference library is, and if it was on that Tockwitz wall, I don't know how that would work since it's a historic building, but I think celebrating the women who made Palm Springs is so important.
And I think working with the library is definitely one of the places we
Yeah, it
should
would be
be
really
touching
cool,
base.
like, combo.
All right. Well, let me just end by saying I see my role as just clearing the path so you guys can do all these amazing things. And it's a challenge. The city, we're doing things a little differently than things have been done. But in general, they've been supportive. The Public Works Department installs things for us, and we are being noticed because we're proactive. And I thank you all for putting so much energy and time into this. And I think the possibilities for next year are very exciting. So I dare you to come up with a better name than 30 by 30, because 31 by 30 doesn't seem to work. But it was extraordinary to realize last year that it was the 30th year since which is really fairly foresighted to have a public arts ordinance in 1988. And then when I realized a month or so ago that the babies arrived on June 6th last year, and that we could have a birthday party for them. But, I think we all we're trying so many things that I think we should be very pleased that about 2/3 of them have worked, you know? I mean, that's not a bad average. So unless anyone has any other final comments, yeah.
So one thing that I really noticed made a difference on our social media was including the hashtag PS Public Arts on the mural with Ryan.
Oh, really?
And well, of course, people understand that the babies and the mural are all part of it. But if we can do that on all future installations, that would be a great idea.
Maybe
It
not
makes-
as large, but.
Maybe not as large, but it helps make people aware of where the art is coming from.
It does, and we're
That's
happy
a
to
great
take
idea.
credit for the babies, even though we all know that they just appeared there, along with the Walker Guest House, which maybe will, if it moves on, we can do something else in the pit. But the fun thing downtown has been that it's all temporary because it's construction sites that are going to be something else. And so it gives you a little more freedom to do something that's maybe a little bit edgier or maybe something that people aren't familiar with. It's gotten a lot of conversation, but it's, I think before we install anything permanently, like in the North End, we need a lot of community input into whether this is the right piece for there. Throwing something in the pit is, here today, gone tomorrow, and I think it's made people just think about it, and so. All right, so anything else? Otherwise, I think
gosh, I don't know. I don't know if I
motion
can handle
to
it.
adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Public Arts Commission meeting. We will re-adjourn to our regular meeting at 4 p.m. on Thursday, September 12th, 2019, in the Palm Springs City Hall large conference room.
Second that motion.
Any objection? We are adjourned, and thank you all.